Have you lost a child to divorce and you're trying to win them back? Well, here's what not to do. Hello, welcome to episode 9 of the Divorce Dad series, part 2 of a 3-part series about how not to lose your kids emotionally and spiritually after the divorce. And we're back with McKenna.
Like, if you think about it, when you're happy and you're radiating positive energy, that reflects. If you're sad or feeling negatively, that's going to reflect. So when someone, especially your ex-spouse, is just like, like like talking really poorly about you, they're in pain. No one who is happy and feels good about what's going on in their life is going to sit there and talk poorly about the other person that they had children with. Like, it's hard. Even if you don't want to be in the marriage anymore, divorce is not easy on anyone. My mom did not want to be with my dad anymore by any means. And you could still see she was suffering. And I think, like, instead of looking at it like just take it, sit there and do that, if you're just like, oh my god, like my ex-spouse is in so much pain, I'm in so much pain, but right now maybe it's not about us, maybe it's about just doing what's best for the kid, and like not talking poorly about each other and not trying to get the kid to gang up on your ex-spouse, is that's such an important thing, because they're kids. Like, they don't, like, they should be out playing and having fun and being with friends and not sitting here like dwelling in this like broken family dynamic, because you have years to do that later. Like, take it from me, I am almost 23 and I have been dwelling on it for years.
How long would you say it took you to get to this place where you can talk about, parents hurting and that sort of thing?
Honestly, I think it took me until probably this past year, because I worked really hard with my therapist on just understanding my parents, and instead of looking at them as people who like just sucked and like I had the worst childhood and all these things, it's like I'm ultimately responsible for my life. I get to decide where to go from here. And my parents were trying their best. Like, they're limited. They grew up in certain households, they learned certain things. Like, they tried the best that they could. And I think some people never figure that out. And I think some people, it's not really an age thing. Like, once you're at my age, like, you'll understand it. I think it's just trying to change your mind about, like, they were just trying their best. Like, my parents aren't evil. But I even slip back into that. I mean, growth isn't like this. It's very much like this. So I even have moments where I'm like, oh my God, my dad sucks. Oh my God, my mom sucks. Like, they screwed up. I mean, even like 3 months ago, I was sitting on my mom's couch and I was just bawling my eyes out. And I was like, I am so happy that you and dad are divorced. You guys are so much happier in your relationships now. It took a long time to get there, but like it ultimately resulted in something positive. But I just wish that I could sit in a bed with both my parents and cry to them about things that have been happening in my life. And I think my mom saw that as me regressing, but I think it's like a spiral. Like, growth is like an outward spiral kind of thing. It's like, really, it's been interesting to watch, but I don't think, like, I don't know. I had to put in the work to get to where I am.
So going back to the advice for fathers, what you said that you put in the work. So what does the work look like other outside of therapy? What other things?
Probably just spending time with my parents individually and like trying to understand them a bit more, and like where they came from, how they grew up, why they react to situations that they react to. I mean, it's all psychological. Like, all these things are psychological. Um, but yeah, just like having an interest in who my parents are. And
Okay.
yeah, like being around friends too that have been through similar things. And I don't know, like, there's so many different avenues you can go to, but I think, like, ultimately me growing as a person individually has helped a lot with understanding my parents more.
Well, one of the things you said, because I'm trying to flip it around to what a father can use, a divorced
Mhm.
father, and you said about spending time individually with your parents was really, the one-on-one time was really helpful, and you seeing them as individuals and not as that torn apart unit. So I guess for fathers, it would be encouraging their child or their children to spend time with their mother, and again, not fighting it. And I talk about these a lot in my videos and things that I've written. Just not giving your ex something to bump up against, because, like you said early on, it takes two to tango. If someone walks off the dance floor, then the tango stops. So it's just that, first off, do you just decide to be the person, I guess the bigger person, that's going to walk off the dance floor, and then encourage your child instead of putting negativity into their mind about their mother. This would be, from my perspective, is look at all the things that their child got from their mother, and that family, and these things that wouldn't exist, because the children wouldn't exist without the mother. And I have exercises around this for fathers to see the beauty that exists in their child because of the mother and the mother's family.
Mhm.
Now you have a brother as well, and from what I understand, things did not go as smoothly. What happened to him when your father remarried? Give me a little background on that, and where the situation is today.
So, when my dad got remarried, originally my brother was on board. He loved the other kids. I think honestly he was more on board than I was. And like at first my brother enjoyed going to my dad's more than my mom's, and I was the other way around. I liked my mom's more than my dad's. And I think just he at some point just didn't want to be part of the family dynamic anymore, because we go out, we see Broadway shows with my dad and my stepmom. He didn't want to do that stuff anymore. He just wasn't playing into the family dynamic at all. And at my mom's, he had a space where he could just hide into his room, play video games, and do whatever he wanted. And my mom never really established, you need to have a relationship with your dad. This is your father. And my dad did everything he could to get in contact with my brother, and it backfiring on him because he made a lot of bad decisions. He, you know, pushed therapy onto my brother. He pushed these things onto my brother, and it just didn't. My brother didn't respond well to it at all. So now they haven't talked in years, and it's so sad because my dad has tried everything, and there's so much pushback.
I have a question on that, because you mentioned that your dad tried everything and
Yeah.
it didn't work. Can you give me some specifics on both the things that didn't work? You've mentioned try to push therapy on him, but also the things that you would advise other fathers to do that could work, so they could save that relationship.
Well, just before this slips my mind, a word of advice would be don't try to take your kid further than they're willing to go. It doesn't work. Um, my dad tried to implement therapy. He tried to get a court order for therapy because my brother needs help 100%. I mean, he's also adopted, which plays hugely into the dynamic of where does he belong? Who is he as an individual? And that's never really been addressed in my family. My mom doesn't want to address that necessarily. And yeah, my like, just don't take your kid further than they're willing to go. Like, my brother didn't wanna be included in the family stuff anymore, and he was forced to do these things, having huge freakouts and just, like, meltdowns at the house about it, and my dad should've just taken a step back and been like, "Okay, he's overextended, he doesn't feel listened to right now," and just, like, I mean, I can't really say what does or doesn't work because every kid is different, and the things that my dad implemented with me and my brother worked on me, but not my brother. And I think, it also is difficult because my dad was remarried, and a lot of the things that my brother would push back on, it was almost like my dad had to make a choice. Do I, like, do the thing that my wife wants to do and her kids and my daughter want to do, or do I play into what my son needs or wants or whatever? So it was almost like these two roads, and you can't win. Either road you go down, you cannot win. And my dad tried so hard to just make the paths merge into one, and it just didn't work. It blew up.
I'm just curious when you talked about where it's a no-win situation, because obviously we're looking for a way to make a wins here. If you were to do it over again, I mean, what would have happened if he did lean into the son and lean away from the other kids? Because we're talking about there's 3 other children, not including you, but mine and Julie's kids. Because again, we're looking to come up with ideas that can help dads to not end up in a situation where they lose one of their kids.
My dad maybe should have just spent more one-on-one time with him. I think my dad just really wanted the family dynamic to work, and my dad finally had other kids and a family and someone to have as a maternal figure for his kids now. Like, because he ultimately wanted to provide that for us when we were at his house, because we were going from microwave dinners to now having family Shabbats with him. And there were so many things that he could have done differently. And I think from my point of view, my dad was so desperate to have any kind of relationship with my brother. And it's like, when something is running away and you just like want to get it, and the more you fight for
Right.
it, the more it runs. And so I almost felt like my dad was trying so hard to get the attention of my brother and do anything for my brother, that I felt like I was being left in a back burner, or like on a back burner. And so I think just like listening to your kid and having a sit down conversation with them, and not making it about me and my new family, but maybe like what's going to work for you? Like, tell me what you're going through. Tell me what you're feeling. Hopefully someone that's watching this has a kid that's receptive to that. My brother and I were raised to not really be tapped into our emotions. So I think that my brother was just a little too far gone at that point. That question is so over my head. I don't really know what someone could do when their kid doesn't want to be with them, other than like try to listen to your kid, maybe make it more about your relationship with your kid individually than like a family unit. Because although it's important to implement the family unit, it's also about, what does my kid need from me? Because it's so much shock. Like, you go through so much shock.
To get the last episode of this 3-part series, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification button. Also, comments are more than welcome. So if there's anything that you feel that can help, or any challenges that you're having, please leave them in the comment section below. Thanks again. Virtually yours, Andy.